Hello, my friends. May the good Lord give you peace. I'd like to read to you from the first letter of St. John, chapter 3, verses 1 through 3. See what love the Father has bestowed on us, that we may be called children of God. Yet so we are. The reason the world does not know us is that it did not know Him. Beloved, we are God's children now. What we shall be later has not yet been revealed. We do know that when it is revealed, we shall be like God, for we shall see God as God is. Everyone who has this hope, based on God, makes him or herself pure as God is pure. I was listening to the news last week, and I heard mention of a survey that made me scratch my head. It was a survey of young people, teenagers and young adults in our country, and one of the questions on the survey asked them what they most wanted out of life. And surprisingly, to myself anyway, the greater majority of them wanted fame. Now, in different eras, I suppose, young people said they wanted money, they wanted success, sometimes maybe even to help others and serve others, but the greater majority said they wanted fame. And I wondered what that is all about. Why do they want recognition in that way, just to be famous? And then in the past week I thought, no wonder. Look at all the attention that Michael Jackson's funeral is getting, and his death in general. Look at all the attention given to the unfortunate incident in Tennessee with the loss of quarterback Steve McNair. No, I'm not judging either of those two people. They were very gifted and talented, one a musician, one an athlete. But their passing took over the news. It became more important than what's going on in Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, than our economic crisis that we're facing. It seemed to take over everything. No wonder people are tempted to seek fame and to see that as the source of recognition. Other people, I suppose, seek money, seek power, whatever it may be. I'd like to tell you a story that suggests that the real source of our dignity, the real source of meaning in our life, lies elsewhere. A few years ago, I was invited to preach out in Denver, Colorado. I had never been to Denver. I was very much looking forward to being there, and I was met at the airport by Pablo, a short Mexican-American man who greeted me with a warm smile, and before I knew what was going on, he hoisted my luggage to his shoulders and charged ahead in the airport, and we went out and threw my luggage into the back of his pickup truck, and we headed off to the parish of St. Anthony where I was to preach. There were a few days before my preaching engagement began, and Pablo invited me to take a ride with him up into the Rocky Mountains, an invitation which I gladly accepted. As we began to ride up into the mountains the next day, Pablo started opening up and telling me about his life story. He told me how he was the son of migrant workers. In the course of our conversation, I asked Pablo if he were born in Mexico or the United States, and he told me that he really didn't know. His parents moved around, and his mother had the baby, delivered him in some field with the help of some other women, and on they went with their work. And as Pablo grew up, he said that he and his brothers and sisters, while they weren't beaten and abused in that sense, they were quite neglected and left on their own because both parents were alcoholic. And he started to think of himself as a nobody. I'm just a loser. I don't know if I'm Mexican or American or what I am. And Pablo acted accordingly. We went on with this conversation and then changed to other subjects, and we ended up in the mountains high up, and we had lunch at one of those nice soup and sandwich places that you find in rural country areas around our country. We were surrounded by mountain scenery, and Pablo informed me that he had lived in that particular town for almost 4 years. And I said, Pablo, it must have been a wonderful experience to live here. And that's when I knew he had me hooked. He said, Father John, I didn't have very good years here. You see, I lived over there in that building over there. And he pointed to this building with gray stone walls and barbed wire fence around it. It was the Colorado State Prison. And Pablo told me that because he thought of himself as a nobody, he ended up in some scraps and fights and robberies, and there he was in jail, and he was abused by fellow prisoners and by guards alike. And when he was done, he was completely convinced he was a nobody, but he was afraid of getting in trouble, so he wandered around, worked at odd jobs, washing dishes, sweeping floors, that kind of thing. But one day he drifted into church. Pablo was a Catholic if he was anything, but nonetheless he really didn't participate too much in church activities. He had been baptized, made his first communion, but then left it at that. Pablo walked into church. He felt bad he had missed Christmas Mass. And in one of the days after Christmas, the day that he went to Mass, the reading was the one that I read to you at the beginning. Beloved, we are God's children now. We shall be that. What we shall be has not yet been revealed. But Pablo clung to those words. They stuck with him. You are God's child. We are God's children. And Pablo said to himself, if I am a child of God, I am not a nobody. If I am a child of God, I am not a nobody. Wow. And that became the source of his conversion. On a human level at first, he thought, I'm somebody. I'm a child of God. He got a better job. He finished high school with a GED. He found a wonderful woman who became his wife. When I met Pablo, he was a proud grandfather. Eventually, he got back to God and even was invited by his pastor to prepare for the diaconate in the Archdiocese of Denver. Pablo was the parish deacon when I met him. But his whole journey began when he could claim that truth that I am a child of God. Now, what does that mean for us, for you, and for me? I think it means this, that we find in that we are children of God, the true source of our dignity. The world tells us we're somebody because we have more money, because we have more fame, more prestige, more influence, more thrills, whatever that may be. And none of those things are bad to have, but they're not the source of our dignity. When we base our dignity and our value on those things, we have to compete with others. We feel superior or inferior because we have more, because we have less than somebody else. But when I can turn within and realize that the true source of my dignity lies in being a child of God, then I am truly free. I can use the gifts that God has given me. I can develop the person that I am, strive to be more and more every day the person that God made me to be. So I'd ask everybody that's listening to this video, watching this video, to say to yourself from time to time throughout the day, I am a child of God, and to realize that everyone else is too, and that that's the true source of our dignity and value as human beings. May the good Lord give you peace.